Are you interested in playing Star Citizen but aren't entirely sure what it is or how to get involved? Or maybe you want to get a friend into it with you but don't know how to best explain it. Since it's a game that's been in development for over 10 years, it can be hard to pinpoint exactly what the game has to offer from the outside. So I wanted to make a short crash course on both what the goal of Star Citizen is being developed to be and what it's like in its current state. My name's Dead Leader, and let's take a look, shall we? Way back in October 2012, veteran game developer Chris Roberts began crowdfunding for an epic space sim game called Star Citizen, and since then it's been continually in development for over 10 years. So while you can currently play it, it's still in alpha as an early access game. This means while it is currently a playable game, it's still a long journey to reach what its initial vision was for it. So what was the initial vision? It was first pitched as a duo of games, the single-player campaign Squadron 42 and the more free-form Persistent Universe MMO, which is usually just referred to as Star Citizen. These two games are supposed to interact and affect each other depending on how you play and get involved. So far, we only have access to the developing Persistent Universe, but recently this year at CitizenCon, it was announced that Squadron 42 is now feature complete and has entered the polish phase of development. So we're currently looking forward to hearing more about an actual release date, hopefully sometime soon. Here's a small excerpt from the initial pitch video from when Star Citizen was first crowdfunded.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old, I dreamt of being a hotshot pilot saving the galaxy or a lovable rogue making my way across the cosmos. But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever your spaceship takes you. I want to be able to share this experience with my friends and fight against real opponents in space, not just AI. What I'm building, the Star Citizen and the Squadron 42 combination, you essentially have both things available to you. So Squadron 42 is the sort of single player experience where you are getting missions. You're in the military, so it's not that open world because you're going to be going AWOL if you decide you want to go off to some other planet. So the idea of it is you serve a campaign, you fly missions, it's branching just like Wing Commander was, and you have exactly that Wing Commander experience with the added bonus of some multiplayer and your friends be able to sort of co-op play with you as wingmen when you fly your missions. But when you finish your tour of duty, you muster out and you're in the wide universe, and then it's open world. You can go where you want, do what you want, choose who you want to be. And the other thing that's nice about this is you don't have to do Squadron 42. You can get into the Star Unit. You can basically decide you're never going to go fight in the military. You can decide that I'm just going to be a merchant or I'm just going to be a pirate. I think what we're talking about here has everything that made Wing Commander great and has everything that made Privateer and Freelancer great. It basically has both things, and the single player sort of military campaign side sits inside this whole universe in a holistic fashion. The idea is that it should be dynamic. So I've talked about the universe being a living entity and something that's always changing, and it's going to change based on the player's actions. So things that players do will have an effect on the universe, and they'll also be able to become part of the universe. So a good example is, say, a player that's an explorer and they explore around enough time and they find a space anomaly and then they manage to navigate a jump. That jump point and the system that they've jumped into will get named after that player. So like that player becomes part of the history and lore of the universe. And on top of that, we're going to be dynamically adding content to these universe. I'm not interested in having yearly updates. We'll have a team of people that are adding content on a weekly, every 2 weeks basis. So you're starting this system and you start in the game and it's got 50 star systems, for instance, and 2 weeks in, a jump point's discovered for another system and someone navigates it and bam, we've got a 51st system and so on.
So that kind of says a lot about the proposed grand scale of the project without going into many particulars. But in short, it's a space sim game where it's up to its players as to what they want to do and how they want to achieve it. It's the everything space game, where you can play it however you want alongside everyone else forging their own destinies in the verse. With such a broad goal, it requires that Star Citizen have a lot of gameplay built in around a diverse amount of possibilities, roles, and careers, which are largely why development has taken such a long time. So, what is the game like in its current form? Well, so far we only have the one star system to inhabit, the Stanton system, which is a far cry short of the 50 plus mentioned in the video, but this test system is still very large and in essence is being used as the test ground for all the new gameplay being added as development continues. You can fly around the system and visit its many planets and moons, all without any loading screens, meaning you can look at a planet from orbit, see a ridge on a mountain, point your ship directly to that area and fly straight there and land all in real time. And at the time of recording this, the first new star system to be added to the game, the Pyro system, has been announced and has been explorable via a separate test server of the game while they look at incorporating it. But what is the game, I hear you ask? What do you do? Are there missions? Well, yes, there are missions you can accept via the contract manager for different factions, companies, and individuals, each with their own reputation system. And there's also jobs and things you can do off the beaten path by yourself, like mining asteroids, salvaging derelict ships, buying commodities from one planet and flying them to a distant space station in order to sell it for a significant profit, or even pirating just other players for their own goods to sell for yourself. But with the missions, the more contracts you complete for a specific group, the more your reputation level will increase, and the more higher level contracts will be offered to you, along with a significantly higher pay for their completion. You could accept delivery missions to pick up and deliver packages throughout the verse, personally shipping goods both legal and potentially illegal in nature. If you have a fast enough ship, you could accept missions to enter a racing league and work on trying to achieve the fastest time in the galaxy, along with whatever prize money you can earn on your way. You can accept salvage contracts, giving you access to the location of salvageable ships that you can strip the weapons and hull down to sell for cash, or attach to your own ships if you find a part you might need. Or you could accept illegal salvaging missions, which require you to burn the identifying markings off of the ship hull before authorities arrive and catch you. You could accept both legal or illegal bounty hunter missions, which have you tracking down and eliminating targets, including players who may have a crime stat and bounty put on their head. Anyone you catch who has a crime stat will be sent to prison, where they'll have to serve out their sentence cracking rocks for hours, unless they find a way to escape. There's also dynamic and limited time events in-game that sometimes trigger, causing the players to flock to the same location in search for big rewards and chaotic space battles. And truthfully, this is where Star Citizen excels, when players get together and work together or against each other. For instance, when you die in-game, you are given an option to just bleed out and respawn at a hospital bed, or to put out a mission contract requesting a player to come and revive you. Or you could find yourself stranded out in space somewhere, and you could make a contract beacon for someone to come pick you up and escort you to your desired location for a payment. And it's even better playing with friends, as some ships you can fly are so large and complex, they require a crew of people to operate. With manable turrets, salvage, mining, or tractor beams, the larger ships in-game require you to have a crew to get the most out of them, which is why there's a large community of player-run orgs that have members all trying to achieve the same goals. There are PvP orgs, racing orgs, mining orgs, and I even run a salvaging org called the Skull Scrapers. And other than the reputation unlocking through missions, the main motivator in playing is to earn money, because ultimately there's no big quest lines to follow or main goal to work towards. The core motivator is the money you earn from accepting contracts. That's because the main thing you spend money on in Star Citizen is buying new ships and vehicles and upgrading them with new components. That's because there's over 160 really detailed ships and vehicles in Star Citizen, which all have a different playstyle and offer the owner access to different types of gameplay. So having a specific ship in mind you want to work towards earning in game can drive which types of jobs you pick up and ultimately how you spend your time in the verse. And that's in short what the game is like currently, constantly evolving with new tech and gameplay being added every few months, driving it towards its initial vision. It does have to be said that because there's always new tech and gameplay systems being added to the game, often depending on how drastic a new addition can be, there can be times where the game is unstable and buggy. Sometimes the game will crash, or even entire servers can go offline multiple times a day. And this is why it's still considered a game that is still in its alpha phase of development, since a lot of the game requires new things to be tested until they break in order to discover how they can be fixed. And it sounds kind of weird, but in many ways, that is the kind of charm of Star Citizen. You become a part of the development of the game. You have things to look forward to being added to the game. You can follow along with the discussion and often criticism of things being broken, and celebrate when they work and come together. And one of the things we're currently looking forward to is called server meshing, which promises to help with many of those issues, where if a server ever goes offline while you're on it, there will be a backup server that keeps everything running and up to speed. And other than server meshing, here's a list of some of the things we're looking forward to being added to the game. Like Pyro, there's many new star systems to be included. There's player bases, where we'll finally be able to construct and settle on planets that we find. Engineering and resource management, making the role of being a ship's engineer a reality, running around repairing systems while the rest of your crew is fighting to stay alive, piloting the ship. Player-owned stores and even space stations, where you can stock your own wares for other players to buy from you. And massive capital ships that are so large, some of them can require upwards of 80 people to crew. Hacking, drones, exploration gameplay, data running, new ships, new functionality to already released ships, and much, much more are all things that we all look forward to being added to Star Citizen. So after watching this, if it's something you think you might be interested in, then you're in luck, because it's currently free to play until November 30th, where you can play free and try out all the different ships with a different selection determined by their manufacturer, changing every few days. So you can jump in and check it out to see if it's something you'd like to get involved with. Just head over to robertsspaceindustries.com and sign up to get access to the game for yourself. And if you use my referral code when you sign up, you'll get some extra cash in game, and it also helps me out. Or if a friend sent you this video, ask them for their referral code, as I'm sure they wouldn't mind it either. All right, well, that's it for the video. If you liked it, please like and consider subscribing. I post lots of Star Citizen content, and yeah, you might enjoy some of those if you end up getting into the game yourself. Well, as always, my name's Dead Leader, and I'll see you out there in the verse. And thank you to my Patreon members. Click the link on screen or in the description if you'd like to also join my Wall of Legends. Thanks.